Jesus said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free." This happens in John chapter 8, verse 32. Later on in the Gospel of John, Jesus is having a conversation with Pontius Pilate just before going to the cross. Pontius Pilate asked Jesus, "What is truth?" Well, throughout the Gospel of John, the idea and the concepts of truth are spoken of very often. But in chapter 8, there is an interesting conversation that happens with Jesus and some followers of the Jewish way that are coming to believe in Jesus. And Jesus is talking to them about the concept and the idea of truth. But like Pilate, you and I might ask the same question: what is truth? We live in a world where lots of things are thrown around. Information is available at a moment's notice anywhere we would like. Someone once said that you should not believe everything you read on the internet. However, we read a whole lot of stuff on the internet. In the last few years, you've heard phrases like fake news, misinformation, spin, and narrative. All of these things help us to think about what is truth. Well, Jesus answers this question for us in John chapter 8. So today, we continue our series 66, looking at the Gospel of John, the fourth gospel in the New Testament. As we think about this particular book, there are some things that are interesting and important to know. First of all, most scholars believe that this was the last gospel written, and most of the reason for that is because it has the most developed and detailed Christology out of all the other gospels. Christology is just a way of saying talk about Christ or belief about who Jesus was and is. So in the Gospel of John, we see from the very beginning that Jesus is established as the Son of God. In the other Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Jesus seems to be developing his own identity as the Messiah throughout those Gospels in different ways, in different aspects. But from the very beginning of John, Jesus is the one. In fact, in John chapter 14, Jesus is talking to his disciples, preparing them for the fact that he's going to be going to the cross. And he says that he's going away to prepare a place for them. And one of the disciples says, "Well, we want to go with you." And Jesus says, "You can't quite yet, but one day you will." And the disciple asks, "Well, we don't know if we don't know where you're going, how can we know the way?" And Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." But now back to chapter 8. In chapter 8, when Jesus says, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free," the people he's having a conversation with are confused because they're confused by the idea of freedom. Because they respond to Jesus by saying that we are Abraham's children. We have never been slaves to anyone, so why do we need to be set free? Well, when we struggle with truth and understanding, the problem is we don't understand what Jesus was telling those folks in John chapter 8. We don't understand that we are slaves. Because Jesus goes on to say that anyone who sins is a slave to sin. Now, you and I don't see ourselves as too bad. We try to do our best, and we try to do everything right and good in the sight of God and the sight of others. We try to be good people. And so we think that we are not slaves to sin at all. But the Bible's very clear that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And if this is true, and if those who sin are slaves to sin, then we need some way to be made free. And Jesus says the way to be free is to know the truth. Not the truth that we find on our favorite news station or our favorite news feed or our favorite YouTuber. All of those have an agenda. All those folks have a narrative that they're spinning. And cutting through that narrative is difficult at best because it's always part of who we are. It's part of what we're listening to. It's part of our culture around us. And it's very difficult to find the truth. But we can listen to Jesus when he says to those disciples who are trying to figure out the way, trying to figure out where Jesus is going and how they can continue to be with him even after he dies on the cross. And Jesus says, "I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free." My friends, I know that most of us don't think we are enslaved. But when you know Jesus, you begin to see how deficient and how defective our lives really are. But with Jesus, with the truth that's inside of us, we can truly be free. It is my hope that you will spend some time listening to and reading the Gospel of John. It is our goal through Series 66 to help you be introduced to all the books of the Bible. And as we get here into the New Testament, the Gospel of John is truly inspirational and has some really insightful things for us to learn as we listen to what our faith is teaching us and who Jesus is for us. He is ultimately the truth that sets us free. By knowing him, you know freedom. By knowing Jesus, you know the way. By knowing Jesus, you have true life in yourselves. I hope that you will know the freedom of Christ today and enjoy reading and digesting the book of John. God bless you. Have a great day.